All right. Hello and welcome. This is Los Altos High School's 12th grade parent night. I'm Daphne Adler, one of the counselors at Los Altos, and I am really happy to welcome you tonight. We really wish we could do this in person like the before times, but we're glad that we at least have this medium to be able to share all this information with you. And we have a panel of speakers from our counseling department, along with Wynn Satterwhite, our principal, and we've got Ariel Rojas tonight, and Laura Duran in the College Career Center, Angela Price in the College Career Center, and Ryan Carter. And we'll kind of introduce our speakers along the way. So just a couple of quick housekeeping things. This is being recorded and will be available for you to view later on the Los Altos Counseling website anytime that you wish. Also, you can click on the live transcript button on the bottom of your Zoom window for closed captioning. And lastly, we will have a Q&A at the end, and we ask that you use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We'll try to answer some questions along the way, but whatever we don't get to, we will answer at the end. So with that, I think we will get started. Next slide, please. All right, so tonight we're going to cover a lot of topics with you that are relevant to your senior students. So we're gonna talk about our function in counseling for seniors and the College Career Center, letters of recommendation, resources and events, and a whole lot of college planning stuff. So there will be a lot of really good info, and then we're of course available for questions anytime. Next slide, please. All right, so this is our counseling department. We know it's been a really strange couple of years, and we may or may not have been able to meet all parents in person, but this is our whole department. You can see all the counselors listed and the link to our counseling website. And we do hope to, to connect with you all over email as best we can, and we're always available to help. Next slide, please. And then our College Career Center has Angela Price, who's our college advisor, and Laura Duran, our center coordinator, and you will meet them in just a little bit as they share some information as well. And we work really closely with them. The counselors in College Career Center collaborate on a lot of different things during the year to support students through their post-high school planning process. All right, so for seniors, this is our last year with them, of course. We love getting to know your students, and we are so happy that we're able to have senior appointments this year in person with your students. That has been really wonderful to reconnect with them, as last year, of course, we couldn't have our meetings in person. And parents are invited to join via Zoom. So you should have an email, or will get an email soon from our counseling secretary with information for your student's appointment and your counselor's Zoom link, and you are absolutely welcome to join us. So the things that we'll be covering in the senior appointment are reviewing your student's transcript, graduation status report, and A through G requirements, so we can make sure all their requirements are on track. If there's something that they're missing, we've probably already contacted them, and if there's anything else that they need to add to their workload, then we can help them with that. We will also be discussing their post-secondary and college plans, and making sure that they know what they need to take their next steps from Los Altos after they leave us. We will review different tools and resources like Naviance and any other online things that they need. And then we'll also talk with them about the counselor letter of rec process and packet, if that applies to them. And we'll talk about that a little bit tonight as well. So all of those things get covered in a half-hour appointment with your students. In addition to that scheduled appointment, counselors are also available on a drop-in basis during brunch and lunch. We have been relocated due to the construction project out to the portables in the front and the back of the school. So it's a little bit of a walk. They get their steps in, but we really do love when they come and see us. And again, like reconnecting with them in person has been really wonderful. Also, we have a lot of ongoing communication through the counseling website, monthly newsletters, email, and Naviance messages, both from counselors and from the College Career Center. So do keep an eye out for a lot of different information, particularly in the fall semester for seniors. All right, next slide. I'm going to talk about letters of recommendation. So this is an important part of the college application process. We get to talk about all the wonderful things about your students, and we have known them for 4 years most of the time, and we get to kind of brag about them to colleges, which is a really great thing for us to be able to do. So we're going to talk about some details about the letters. So most private and some public out-of-state universities require a letter from the counselor and or teachers. UCs and CSUs do not take letters. So this is going to apply to mostly Common App schools, and we're going to show you lots and lots of details about this in a little bit. But just know for now, private and some out-of-state public, typically Common App. An electronic packet was emailed to your students on Friday of last week from Deanna Mistel Ali. She is one of our other counselors. So your students should have an email from her to the entire senior class with instructions for how to request a letter from their counselor. And this year, we have shifted the counseling packet to the Informed K-12 platform, which is an electronic kind of routing system for when you need like signatures and different forms filled out, and it makes the process really smooth. We can send things back to them if they need to add things, etc. And the part that is really important for parents to know about, which I'll show you in a second, is that there's a parent questionnaire. So the student is going to submit a packet with their college list, a survey that they're going to fill out for their counselor, resume, and feedback from parent and teacher. So if your student has not mentioned this, please do check in with them and make sure that they got that email. If they didn't for whatever reason, they can reach out to their counselor. We can resend it. And it's also on the counseling website. Next slide. So the parent piece, and this isn't anything new. We've always requested this, and it's still optional, but really, really helpful. But we wanted to bring this to your attention because it's going to come to you in a different way this year. So in the past, it was always a paper form. Last year, we tried PDFs, which was okay. But this form is by far the most streamlined and easy to fill out. So we're pretty excited to use this. So your student, the way that your student's going to access this is they're going to go to that link that they have received, and the packet is like a bunch of pages, and one of them has some additional links for new forms. One is going to be their questionnaire to fill out, the staff feedback form, excuse me, and the parent feedback form. So they are going to initiate that questionnaire, which looks like this screenshot. They're going to put in their name and email and your name and email, and it's going to trigger an email to you. So keep an eye out for that, and then you fill it out, and that goes confidentially to your counselor. Your student will not see what you write. So please do be candid with us and share information that you think is really important for your counselor to know. But that does have to be student initiated, so keep an eye out for that. And then in terms of deadlines, some of these are coming up pretty quickly. So if you can support your students in getting their information in on time, it is super, super helpful so that your counselor can guarantee that we have enough time to write a really thoughtful and detailed letter for your students. So if the student is applying for any sort of early deadline, whether it is called early action, early decision, scholarship priority, anything like that, when the deadline is November 15th or earlier, they must submit their packet to their counselor by September 13th. Earlier is great if they're able to finish it, but by the 13th. So that is in about a week and a half. And then for regular decision, which are the deadlines typically in January, but essentially anytime after November 15th, they may start around December 1st and just go anytime between then and January, February-ish. October 4th is the deadline to submit the packet to your student's counselor. And then any changes that they're making to their list have to be communicated to the counselor by December 10th. Naviance does not notify the counselor when a student makes changes. So it is very, very important if the student makes changes to their list after they've given their counselor their packet on one of these other deadlines, that they must communicate that by email to their counselor by December 10th so that your counselor has enough time to go and send materials to the additional colleges. All right, so I'm going to turn it over now. Go ahead, next slide. Next slide. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Laura Duran, our College Career Center coordinator, and she's going to talk to you about all the really wonderful offerings that the College Career Center has for your seniors. Thanks.
Thank you for the introduction, and thank you everyone for attending tonight's presentation. So this slide is really just going over some of the many College and Career Center resources. We are doing our best to maintain the online presence that we started last year, and we're working with students to get them using that powerful tool, Naviance. We are continuing to invite college admissions representatives to visit either in person or virtually. But for any in-person visit, we're also providing a virtual link for students who might be off-site or home, or just feel more comfortable Zooming in from wherever they prefer. We also have scholarship information that is updated regularly and accessible. We have a page that's dedicated to volunteering, internships, and job availability. We also would love to continue reminding people about the wonderful MVLA College Counseling Handbook that is located on the homepage of the Los Altos High School College and Career Center website. And if you haven't looked at that, it's a really helpful descriptive tool, and I encourage you to take a look. Additionally, we're going to be offering ACT workshops. So there's 2 ACT periods a week, and those will start for us in October. And so we will be publishing what workshops we'll be offering during that time. And both before then and once October rolls around, we're available before school, during brunch, lunch, and after school for college essay support with UC and CSU applications, Common App application, community college application, and international university help. So hopefully something for everybody. And we do want everyone to know that regardless of what your student's plan is, that we are happy to work with them and want to see them in the College and Career Center. Next slide. Fantastic. So just to draw attention to 2 of the digital resources, the College and Career Center website, I update regularly and try to continue putting the most relevant information on the homepage. So at the very top, you can see that the button for the counselor recommendation packet. Right beneath it, there's information for the class of 2022 that they'll need when filling out the common application. And then it just goes from there. On the further down on the homepage, there's also a link to the YouTube channel that we created last year, and where we posted videos from Workshop Wednesday series that we did last year, and different events that we had with guest speakers from various colleges and some career speakers as well. So we encourage you to check that out. And then if you'd like to stay on top of information that I'm trying to communicate directly with students, please consider following the Instagram account. It is at Los_Altos_CCC, and there's a couple images there of the type of content that we're posting. There are also physical books and resources that students can access. For example, these college tools and resource guides, these type of guides also exist online, but if they come into the College and Career Center, we're happy to show them where they can find some of this information. They can take a seat, look through the books, and ask us any questions as they might come up. We also are hosting several information nights this fall. The next one coming up is the September 23rd UC and CSU night. That'll be at 6:30 p.m. It will be virtual. For the first hour of the presentation, we'll have a CSU campus. It's going to be Humboldt this year, speaking about the CSU system overall, and also a couple specific bits about Humboldt. And then after that, we'll have UC Santa Barbara speaking about the UC system, and then some specifics about their campus. So we hope you can make that. And the registration link is in this presentation and also on the Los Altos calendar and the College and Career Center calendar. October 4th, we have International University Night. That'll be at 6:30 p.m. And then in the spring, we hosted the Countdown to College, and recordings from that are posted on the website. So if you want a refresher from last spring, or you missed some of that content last spring, you can go onto the College and Career Center website and you can take a look and refresh your memory. And then we also are hosting financial aid information nights and workshops. The first one will be held on September 30th from 6 to 7 p.m. And that will give an overview of what financial aid looks like, what types of financial aid, and how you can access that. And then Cash for College is on October 7th. And that's going to be a 2.5-hour drop in, go into a breakout room and get extra support with completing the application with professionals. So we hope that you take advantage of that if you need it. And if that day and time doesn't work, we're also available to help by appointment, and there's lots of other workshops that I can connect you with. And then I just want to let everyone know that the virtual college fairs are continuing. Last year, when the pandemic started, the community moved very quickly to organize these virtual college fairs. And it's with COVID still, being a large factor, colleges are not all traveling. And they are continuing to offer virtual visits and virtual college fairs. And so the first link, it's a spreadsheet that sort of highlights some of the webinars that I think students and families might be interested in. So if you look at that, it can give you sort of an overview of some of the types of events that colleges are hosting, either individual colleges or consortiums of colleges, to get great information out. And then we also have the NACAC virtual college fairs. So you can see there's several there. And at each of those events, there are hundreds of colleges that participate. So you and your student are both welcome to attend. You can go on, pre-register for events and see what sessions are being offered. And then there's also the WCAC virtual college fairs on September 15th and November 2nd. Those are going to be 3 45-minute sessions, again, where you can connect with reps and your student can as well. And I will pass the mic to Angela Price, our college advisor. Oh, Ms. Price, I think you're muted.
Angela, you're still muted.
Okay, I think I got it that time. Okay, so welcome parents, I'll start again. I just wanted to say it's glad to be here with you tonight. And although I know you've heard a lot of information tonight, what I want you to take away is that this process is ongoing throughout the semester and that your children have time to get this work done. And it's our goal and responsibility to support them as they do that. My biggest role is to make sure that students are enabled with the knowledge to know that they can do this work, and we're going to help them. So I will move on to the things I'm going to do with your children. I'm available from 8 to 3:30 p.m. I share a trailer with Laura. So we're in a college career center together. So I'm there when students walk in. Recently, I just sent out an email to all seniors, letting them know how they can sign up for their advising appointment with me. They get a 30-minute appointment with me. That's just the beginning. After that, we'll continue to talk. We'll continue to work. I work with students on their essays, their applications, as well as helping them shape their college list. And so it's just the beginning when they meet me. And we sort of go hand in hand all the way down until their deadlines for the college applications. The biggest thing that students have to think about as they begin to work on their college process is they need to focus on the fit. Every college is different, every student is different, but if students look closely and think about what matters to them, they will find a college that will match. They will find more than one college actually that will match. We suggest that students create a master spread list with deadlines and dates so they can stay on target, so they will not miss valuable deadlines that will take away from their applications. They can decide one day a week, and I've told kids to make sure that they have some time to talk with their parents about what they're doing. That way it will keep a lot of anxiety down and will keep students on mark and keeps parents informed. We want to put students in the driver's seat, but I do understand that they don't have the license yet. We're going to be riding in that buggy with them. So while they'll be driving, we'll be there directing and helping them. I think parents would be really helped in this process by attending some of the MVLA Parent Speaker Series. They always have speakers in there that are well seasoned and working with students and know the college process and have been in education for a long time. So that might be a good place for parents to spend some evenings learning more about the outside process that students will be facing as they move on to college, as well as how to deal with some of the anxiety and issues that might come up while students are applying to college. So you might want to try the MVLA website to look for those events. The good news is that we have options. All of our students do. We're very well, I should say, endowed with colleges in the United States. So there will be options all of our students in this process. Next slide. And here are some of those great options. In California alone, 115 community colleges, 23 Cal State universities, 9 UC campuses, over 1,600 private colleges, 1,500 out-of-state colleges. We have a wealth of educational opportunities in this country for our kids. I'll start with the community college, which I am very much a proponent of because my husband got his PhD, 2 PhDs actually, but he started at Santa Ana Community College. So community college in this in the state of California will allow kids to complete their general education for associate degrees, transfer or certificate options. There are career apprenticeships in programs. They can explore coursework and personal interests. It is where students can become college students and yet not face all of the pressures of a 4-year school or a big campus if they don't want it. They'll get small classes, get to know their faculty, and will be ready for transfer to any college, actually, from our community colleges. Students will be able to complete major prep courses, which are critical to admissions to all colleges. And you can find these on the community college website, and you'll be able to look at those colleges with your students. But we have opportunities coming up this fall as well for students to have community college workshops and get a chance to talk to the community college staffs at our local community. I think it's either Foothill or De Anza that's coming to Los Altos first. And so we will be there with them and helping them look at the community colleges and make those decisions. California Community College. So 2 years are free in California. Yay. Our students don't have to worry about paying tuition. There are transfer pathways. One is a TAG program, transfer agreement, and then there's a social degree for the ADT transfer. And these are both ways that students can move on to any 4-year college in or outside of California. The transfer agreement and this transfer agreement is specific to California, guarantee the UCs and CSUs guarantee admissions, but a social degree for transfer is a degree that students will use as they apply to any college in the country. California State University system-wide. We have over 23 campuses. There's one application. California's made it very easy for our students, and it opens up October 1. And they will apply through the Cal State Apply website, and we will help them. I think that we were very excited about the Cal States and the fact that they have one application as well, and they've also have been very generous to our students at Los Altos High School. So I encourage all of the students to look at CSUs as an option as well in the California state system. Next. The CSU requirements, minimum 2.5 GPA, our weighted GPA on 10th and 11th grades, A through G coursework, which our students always get done because of our wonderful counseling department. I never have to be concerned about our students not being prepared to move on to a Cal State or UC because our counselors do their job in keeping those kids on track in A through G. No essays or recommendation letters are required unless applying through the EOP program, and I'll tell you a little bit about that later. Self-reported grades on the application. Transcripts are not submitted to the end of the year unless a campus requests it, and they will send an email to your student asking them to submit their transcripts if they needed to see a transcript before the end of the year. Students will create a checklist for the CSU app portals, and they will be able to create those lists and create their portals, so they will be able to check their CSU applications and find out where they are in the process, and also know if they've been admitted to those portals. SAT or ACT not required. Yay! No testing for CSUs. I'm very excited about that. EOP program, the Education Opportunity Program was established way back in the 1960s. And it was established to support students of first generation, historical low income and underserved students in our communities. And so it is a program that we support at Los Altos High. We work with our students on their applications and work with them on their statements for the EOP program. This is a program that will provide academic and financial assistance to students who are low income and first generation. And so if you have a student that falls in those categories, Ms. Duran, I would love to know them and would love to support them in the EOP process. The UCs have they have 9 campuses, undergraduate campuses, and I always tell students, every UC is equally set to give them a great education. Applications open up August 1, and you will apply through the University of California admissions website, and that website has been open since August, so a lot of our students have already begun to go in and fill out the applications. Of course, we will help them and review them if they need our support with that, but hopefully all of your students are already into that system and looking at that application and beginning to fill it out as best they can and coming to get support when they run into a place where they need help in getting those applications. But all of those campuses are great campuses, and I encourage all of our students to consider UC system-wide as they apply to attend schools in California. UC application, the minimum GPA is a 3.0, and that is absolutely truth. I've been working with the UCs for about 15 years, and I can tell you that they admit students with 4.0s and 3.0s weighted GPA. 10th and 11th grades, A through G coursework. They have essays that are required, 4 short responses, personal insight essays. No letter recommendations, except for UC Berkeley will occasionally ask students to submit a letter recommendation. And you will know they have your student because they will send an email and request formally that the student, if they would like to, they can submit a recommendation. But students can't ask to submit a recommendation, and they can't submit one because friends may be submitting a recommendation. These invites are personal, and each student that is requesting, each student that's requested by UC Berkeley to submit a recommendation will get an email, and their personal email asking them to do so. Grades are self-reported in the UC application, and they will ask for a transcript to the UC that the student will be attending. And that won't happen to the end of the spring when students are offered admissions in March and April, and they will, after May 1, they will be asked to send the transcript to the UC they will attend. Thank goodness subject tests are no longer required. No subject tests. They don't exist by College Board and nobody wants them. So we're doing great with getting rid of some of the tests that do nothing for our children. I would like for students to create and check their UC application portals frequently, just as they would any other college they're applying to. Colleges will respond through internet and through emails almost daily sometimes. So students will have to check in at least once or twice a week to see if there's anything new in their portal, to see if the UCs have submitted any requirements, because they must meet those requirements if the UC is asking them for information. SAT or ACT not required or considered in admissions at this point. Private and out-of-state public colleges, a whole lot of those as well. Most colleges will use a Common App, some will use the coalition application. And sometimes students will find that one school will use both of those. And so they will have a choice to make between Common and coalition. I suggest they talk to Mr. Rand and myself about which way to go with those applications, because if they're on both applications, I strongly suggest they use a Common App and not do the coalition app. But if they choose to do it, they should just have a conversation with us about the differences in those two applications. Some colleges use their own application through their website, and many of my seniors have already gotten a request from colleges asking them to apply. And so those are absolutely legitimate requests, and students can use those. Again, they may appear on coalition or Common App as well. Counselor and teacher recommendations are required for most private schools, especially the more selected private schools. And as you heard with the counselors, they've already got that process going, and your students just need to read that counselor recommendation, that packet, and get their information into the counselors. There's essays and personal statements typically required for private colleges. Testing requirements for this coming year for our class through 2023, we need to have students check the individual college websites. If they're not able to do that and they need support in doing that, please have them email me, stop by the College Center, and I will help them locate that information on the website. Common App, the differences between coalition and Common. Common App has about 900 colleges and universities. One application for all schools participating, and it is connected to Naviance. Coalition, some public out-of-state school universities use coalition, exclusively, like University of Washington and Seattle. Some students should indicate they're applying direct to institutions on the Naviance. Financial aid. FAFSA and CADAA, which is California Dream Act application, open up October 1. Create your application. It covers loans, grants, and middle class scholarships. When you fill out these applications and colleges receive this information from these departments, they will make a decision across the board on your student's financial aid offer. So please get the applications filled out. We want every student to be in the running for Cal grants and for any other grants that colleges may offer, scholarships, and to be eligible for loans at a lower rate through the FAFSA recommendation and your college financial aid offices. Private colleges also will ask for the CSS profile, especially selected private colleges. Our application opens up October 1. You'll be able to access the CSS profile through your College Board account. If students have a problem finding it and need support with that, just have them email me or Ms. Durant or stop by the College Center. We'll help them locate the CSS profile and help them also determine if their college requires it. There'll be scholarships from local, statewide, and national. The students at Los Altos work very hard at writing those essays and filling out applications all during the fall to make sure that they're in the running for scholarships. Our students do really well in completing those local scholarships, state scholarships, and national scholarships. So we will be there to help them with that as well. Every college has a net price calculator on their website. I want parents to keep in mind that, you know, this is basically colleges assessing and you sort of getting an idea what it might be. It might not be the actual package when you see it, but it certainly is a guideline to give you some indication as of what your packaging might be and what family contributions are expected. And you will be able to compare financial aid packages. And that's a wonderful thing about applying to colleges very broadly. You'll be able to see what each college gives you. Usually the college will send out that financial aid packet very closely or with your admissions offer. So we know right away how much financial aid students are going to be offered, and you will know that as well. The WUE, the Western Undergraduate Exchange Program, fantastic for all of us who live on the West Coast. The WUE program is a program that has participating universities from all the Western states, not all of them, some of them, that offer substantial scholarships to out-of-state applicants. Some colleges have minimum requirements to qualify, does not apply to all majors, and list of colleges requirements are found on the WUE website. Again, it's a little fuzzy on the WUE website. If your student would like to understand how it works, definitely send them to the College Center or have them contact Mr. Rand and myself, and we'll certainly walk them through that website and help them locate their colleges in the WUE list. But great opportunities for kids who live on the West Coast. College testing. The UC and CSUs are not considering SAT or ACT. So students are asked not to send those tests to those schools by the colleges themselves. They're not going to consider them in admissions. And that's what students were sending their SAT or ACT scores for college admissions. Not going to be considered this year. Many other colleges have retained the test optional policies for 2021 and 22. They are put in place during the pandemic. And so you got to sort of check the requirements for each specific college. You want to make sure that the college your student is applying to requires that test of your student. If they're not requiring it, then your student has a choice. And what we heard last year with private selective colleges all across the country is that optional means optional. Your student does not have to submit it. If they do not want to, it is not going to hurt them in the admissions process. The MBLA Foundation is sponsoring an SAT for all students on October 13th, PSET Day. Optional for 12th graders, instructions have been communicated to all families. So please be sure to meet those deadlines so you'll be able to register for the SAT or for the PSAT if that is your option. And now I will turn it back over to Daphne, who you met in the beginning of the presentation.
All right, thank you, Ms. Price. That was a lot of really, really great information, and we're all here for questions. If there's anything that you all want to know from that whole section, because it's a lot of good stuff. Okay, so I'm going to talk really briefly about international universities. This is another really wonderful option that is not super well known in the US, but is becoming more and more popular. I am particularly passionate about this and have begun to talk with a lot of students. We've done some programming around this over the past couple of years, and it has gotten to be a much more popular option, which is really, really exciting. So essentially, students can study in the US, that's of course our default, but a lot of people are not aware that students can do a full degree anywhere in the world. There are English speaking universities everywhere, and they're all manners and places and sizes and specialties. It's a matter of research, and it is rather vast. So in the beginning, it feels a bit kind of big and scary and ambiguous and like just too big to wrap your head around. But actually the reality is it is very doable and very affordable. And people assume it's going to cost a fortune, and it actually is a fraction of what it costs in the US to attend a private college a lot of the time. So really, really refreshing. It's also a really great way to have like a kind of a different experience than what most American students are doing. So in October, we will be hosting a wonderful event. This will be our second annual International University Month, and this is going to be a series of webinars that are delivered by college or international university admission representatives and myself and Ms. Duran. And that's going to start on October 4th. It's going to be our kickoff event, which will be in the evening, a webinar like this, as well as an evening webinar about UCAS, which is basically the Common App of the UK. So we'll talk all about applying in the UK on the 19th. So those are in the evening so that parents are able to attend. They're also open to other local schools to register. And then for students, we're going to have a whole series of workshops during the school day. Next slide, please. So just a few kind of main points to hit. And then if you want to know more, please sign up for our workshops in October. So as I mentioned, in a lot of countries, a full degree is a fraction of the price here, particularly a private college, and that includes living and travel expenses. Sometimes it may be kind of equivalent to a UC or a CSU. So it's a really, really wonderful option economically. Also, many countries have shorter programs. So for example, in the UK, in England, Wales, and Northern Ireland, programs are 3 years rather than 4. So you shave 25% off the top, just to start. And then the price tag is lower anyway. So it really is like an incredibly low price tag, which is a super option. There are also some really great opportunities for dual degree programs, which is going to be similar to doing a double major, not exactly, but kind of. And a lot of 3+1 or 4+1 options, meaning that you can combine a bachelor's and a master's. Sometimes you can also add a study abroad year. So you could go study in like another country. If you, for example, let's say you're studying in Wales or something like that, and you want to do an extra year studying in Spain, you can totally do that. And then you could also do that extra one as a master's program or as a professional placement. So many, many, many ways to do it. It's really neat and pretty customizable. So some of the benefits, students get exposure to international work opportunities, professional contacts. They're immersed in other cultures and languages, and just sort of a global, global mindset in everything that they do. So really just something unique and different. And I really, really encourage you to think about that. A lot of families, it just kind of wasn't even on the radar. And so we really want to raise awareness of this as an option. And students can certainly apply both in the US and outside the US at the same time, and then decide over the course of the year what they want to do. And another nice thing is that the deadlines for most countries are going to be later than the US. So you actually don't have to decide this right now. And you can come and talk to me, check out our workshops, etc. Next slide, please. All right, so I'm going to now turn it over to Ariel Rojas, and he is going to wrap us up, and we'll do some Q&A. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. It's been great information. So what should students do now? Let's all take a deep breath and just breathe. You know, this process is hard, and I totally get it. It's scary for parents, and for students, it's even worse. But let's remember that that the process doesn't have to be stressful. It could be a process where like we all help out. You know, we can do this as a community. We're there for your students at the school, and we'll be trying to help them out through this process. And you, the parents, as well, could help through the process by being a silent and helpful partner. You can help your students by helping them continue to be relaxed and continue to do the things that they need to do. So getting stuff done, but at the same time, letting them do the stuff themselves, because it's really important that the students don't get stressed out at home or get stressed out at school. So sometimes, we forget, how much work they have and how much they're carrying on. Some students taking 6, 7 classes in the senior year and doing all these applications and stuff like that, and worrying about whether am I gonna get into a school or not. Your students will do well. We have an amazing group of students at Los Altos. Historically, we've always done really well in the application process. So let's just wait for the good news, and also continue to share up your students to do well, and especially in these times. Our students just came back from a year of craziness. We're all taking we all going back, and we don't know what to expect. It's been really hard. So we just really have to be really extra careful and help them through the process. And with that, just keep an eye on maintaining the progress. We have to maintain the progress on the A through G requirements and the grades. Remember, even though the UC does not see the transcript until the end of when the students graduate, if a student is going to go to a UC, but they're still going to see what happened in 12th grade. And one thing that you have to remember is all admissions are conditional. Conditional that you graduate, conditional that you stay at the level where they accept you. So let's remember that 12th grade, it's important. For those private colleges, remember that for those students who are applying a regular decision, they are going to see your mid-year reports, which is the transcript for the grades in the fall semester. We send them to the school, so they're going to see that. Try to remember to review the requirements for schools in the college list. So make sure that everybody understands where they're applying and what requirements that school has, so we don't miss anything. The counselor letter recommendation materials is really important. We do get a lot of letters, and we want to do the best for every kid. Every kid is an individual who we want to portray as, the best we can. So we want to have enough time, and we want to have enough information so we can do a really good job with your students. So let's make sure that your students are turning in the package on time, that they're following the deadlines that are given to them, and that if they're ready, let's go ahead and submit it so we can get started on the letters of recommendations. Make sure for the parents is that the part where you are going to give us some feedback, make sure be candid with us. Tell us about your student. A lot of times I sit with students and I ask them, so what you've done, and they don't think that certain things are important, but there's a lot of things that you can get out of your kids that are super important that they do, that it's important for you to mention to us. And remember that, students have to have 2 academic teachers, and they have for letters of recommendations. So they should already have asked the teachers, and they haven't. You should encourage them to do that as soon as possible, because teachers do get really full. And let's remember that those are really, really important, and there is a process in which you have to do that, and the students have to talk to their teachers about the individual teacher's process. And another thing that I normally see the students don't do much is checking email. Make sure, especially for the 12th graders, it's extremely important for them to check email constantly, because there's going to be a lot of information coming out for just about everything, and we need to make sure that we are on top of that. So students, check your email and Canvas regularly. So yeah, so a few things is checking the email and college application portals frequently. Just remember that we talked about that earlier. it is the student responsibility to make sure that the application files are complete. Okay, colleges will generally not look at students' applications until all the materials have been completed. So, so there are deadlines. So if the deadline says, you know, this particular day, you got to make sure that everything gets turned in by that day. So make sure that you continue to check those portals. Use professional sounding email addresses for college. That is important. Colleges do have people that look at that. So it's important that you are professional when you're using your emails. Also, students should be very careful about what they post on social media. I don't get tired of telling my students, please be careful. Be careful, because colleges do have people looking at social medias in high schools and stuff like that, and they can rescind applications if they see something. I mean, we've seen things happen in the past when the students post offensive social media content. So make sure that students, you know, have fun. That is the most important thing. Have fun, relax, be kids, you know, enjoy the last year of high school, especially now that we're back. But at the same time, let's be responsible. Let's be responsible about the things we do and the things we say. And let's just finish up a year where we end up winning and we end up getting something amazing after all. So you students deserve it, you deserve it, and everybody, we're there to cheer them up and to help them. Okay, so this is gonna be the end. I had a very small part of this, but it's good because I think that the information tonight was pretty amazing and pretty good. We are giving this information to students on the individual appointments. So encourage your students to also check the email to make sure that they come to our appointments. I know that we are a little bit far away, and with the construction, it is hard for students to get to us and stuff like that. But make sure that that they are showing up to their appointments and that they ask questions. Encourage them to bring questions with them when they come to our appointments. We are more than happy to answer questions for them and to help them along the way. That's what we're there for. Your kids are the #1 priority in our school, and that is the reason why we get to work every day. You know, if it wasn't for your students or for the students who are here tonight, probably my drive will be pretty boring. I get really excited when I think about how many kids they see and all of the stuff that we're able to do with the students, and there's nothing better than seeing them happy. So I wish you all a really exciting year and for everybody. So do we have anything else other than any questions that we might have? I think that there is a question on the Q&A that we can. So there's a question that okay, so there's no more questions. Okay, very good.
And shout out to Laura Duran, who was answering those questions like a boss during our slides.
Thank you. You probably didn't see me answering any questions because I cannot multitask on the computer when I'm presenting. I'm either like
okay, well, you were running the slide.
So, yeah,
it's
so
okay.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Any other questions out there? This is a great time to ask. Okay, we have one question. How do we know if teachers have agreed to write letters of rec for our students? I mean, the student has to go talk with their teacher and then invite them through Naviance. There isn't really a parent piece there. It's just kind of between the student and their teacher, and then teacher will basically give them like a verbal, and then the student has to invite them through the Naviance portal so that the teacher can then upload letter for them. You
can also you also have the choice of seeing, you know, what the student can share their Naviance for. You can see who the teachers are who are writing the letters on the portal. But it is important that there's really good communication between the student and the teacher. They must not only talk to them about requesting the letter of recommendation, but also ask them if they need any kind of materials for them to write the letter of recommendation, and get those materials on time and you know, so they can start the process.
Mm-hmm.
there's another question here. Is there a recommended list of international schools? Ms. Adler, I think that is for you.
I will take that. So there isn't, because it's really quite similar to in the US. There's no recommended list for any given student because it really is all about finding the right fit. So I will always say the same thing, whether it's domestic or international, not only to look at academics, but what does the student want around them in terms of their campus and their city and the size of the school and culture on campus and all those sorts of things, in addition to the academics. So it's really quite similar. And that's why it's vast though, because it's like every country is a bit different and it requires a lot of research. We'll talk a lot about these sorts of things during the October presentations to give your students a start of like how to even wrap their heads around it and where to get information. Yeah, it's a really good question. Thanks.
Thank you. And so can schools organize an ACT test also? I'm pretty sure that our district is always looking to see what's best for our students and to try to get the best opportunities. And right now it's been very difficult. So they're organizing the SAT and organizing the PSAT. So if there's any thing about the ACT, they will communicate with parents.
And there was a question in the chat asking if the parent wanted to know if they could get a PDF of the recommendation. And I just want to state that colleges do not accept recommendations from anyone except the school. Counselors have to upload those recommendations, or counselors have to send those recommendations directly to the college from the high school. So parents cannot be given recommendation letters to upload into a college application.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I have a question and maybe one of you guys can jump in and answer. Is there any value to CSF on a student resume? Is it still happening this year?
Yes, there is. Colleges look at what students do in the California Scholarship Federation. First of all, students meet a GPA deadline, which is fantastic guideline. And then they also have to do community service. Two things that colleges appreciate a great deal: academic merit and community service. And CSF represents both of those for a student if listed in their application.
So even though schools state that SAT and ACT are optional, do you recommend that students take either of these tests? Ms. Price, what's your take on that?
My take on that is that, having spoken to many colleges about when they recommend whether student is optional or not. So colleges have told me it is optional. At this point, colleges have decided that they do not care about that test as much as they used to. Therefore, optional comes in. They don't care if you submit it, and if you do, they'll consider it. And if you don't submit it, they won't look at it. So Laura and I have been talking to students about submitting testing and looking at everything in that student's application to see, in fact, if the student submits that test, will it make them a stronger student or not? Looking at that test in case they send it into an optional school. Because say, for instance, if a student has a 1600 on the SAT and a 36 on the ACT, that's the top score. So with students who have that type of score, they're at the top of the food chain with their testing. Let's just say that student has a 3.8 GPA and a 36 ACT. They're not at the top point with their GPA, but they are with testing. So I think that we need to look at that student, talk to the student, and let's look at their profile. But just on the surface, I would say if it's optional, do not send it if you don't have to. But I think it's just hard to do without knowing the student or seeing anything else the student has in their application. And I think that's where we need to meet the student and talk with them and see the things they've been involved in, to see the curriculum, not just the GPA. So I think we would like to see those students if they're deciding.
How important is college visit in the COVID era? How do we find out if that matters?
I can take that. So college visits are always important because it's really the best way for students to really get a feel for what that college is going to be like. Because preliminary research, like visiting their websites, going to a college rep visit, talking to their counselor or the College Career Center or other trusted people, is all good information. However, everyone has a different impression and opinion, and sometimes it's really very intangible. It's like you go on campus and it's like, wow, this place is amazing. And sometimes it's like, oh, wow, this isn't really what I thought. And sometimes it's going to be somewhere in the middle. And those are things that are very difficult to take away from a website, for example. So when possible, it's really a very great way to gather information. And the more that you visit, the more you hone what you're looking for and not looking for. That being said, it is very difficult right now. And colleges are starting to open back up for official visits. Sometimes even if they're not doing tours, you can walk around, but do respect their boundaries around whether visitors are allowed on campus. And lastly, most colleges now, or a lot of colleges, have virtual tours on their website in place of being able to visit for the past year and a half. So take advantage of all of those things. And you can always find visiting information on their website somewhere around the admission page usually. Anything else anybody would want to add on that?
I think you answered perfectly. Thank you. So when researching colleges on Naviance and looking at the average GPA of accepted students to a particular college, is the reported GPA the students' 4-year GPA, including their senior year, or is it the GPA they apply when they went through junior year? So go ahead.
That's a really great question. So we do data uploads, and so it's the final GPA that you're seeing. And so there is a slight difference between maybe when they applied and when they got in, but that data point is supposed to be sort of helpful and engaging, but not an exact way to it's just to give you a sense of how Los Altos students generally do to those schools. And so when your student meets with Ms. Price, if there's specific questions, that's where she can kind of look more holistically at your student and give some information on sort of where that college should be on their college list, if that's a reach or a target or a likely. So that's the real value of meeting with Ms. Price and going over the college list.
And also, I think that with the Cal States and the UCs, it is through just the junior year that you will see that decision based on. But private schools, no, but the CSUs and the UCs, just through junior year is where that GPA ends.
Thank you. So if I thought if one doesn't, okay, that question was answered, and so I don't think that CSF needs to volunteer hours, only grades. So what is the point of CSF to colleges? Again, since they can see your grades, please correct me if I'm wrong. Ms. Price, can you please correct them if it's wrong?
Well, colleges make their decisions not just based on grades. They can admit any student. Most colleges have a huge pile of students at 4.0s, and they can stop right there if they wanted to, or they don't, because they look at other things that kids bring to the campus. I think that Ms. Adler talked about when you go visit, you look at the community, you see what kind of students go there. Colleges are also interested in admitting students who will fit into their community. It's just not students choosing the college. College has to choose them based on more than GPA, I hate to tell you. They look at their activities, they look at what the counselors say about those students, what the teachers say about their students. It is a holistic process. So I would say if a student has been involved at all at school that will give a different light just besides academics, then show it. And CSF is one of those ways to show it.
Thank you. So Ms. Duran is answering that question. So one application for the UC system, can you apply for a major A at one school and a different major such as major B to another school? And can you do this for the CSU as well?
Yeah, every student will submit an application to a particular UC. So if a student is applying to UC San Diego and want to apply engineering and computer science, that's fine. They'll be able to do that. Then they might want to apply to UC Irvine and they want to choose undeclared or psychology. They can do that as well. So yes, they can choose different majors for different campuses if they choose so.
Well, so I think, thank you so much. And I think we have reached the time limit for this evening. So I really appreciate everybody being here. If you have any more questions, you can always email us, or we can always try to answer your questions at any other point. I really appreciate the panelists being here tonight. And I appreciate all of you. There is a lot of you tonight. And so I appreciate that. And thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for always being there for us, being amazing parents and students, and for supporting Los Altos High School and our team. You guys always rally after us. So thank you so much. And you, everybody have a nice evening.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Have a
And
good
thanks
night.
to all our speakers tonight as well.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.